£12.7 billion of government financial support for the self-employed has been terribly targeted. That's the conclusion of a major new report that's out today, which also sets out some proposals for how to better target this government support for the self-employed in the future for the next round of grant funding. So coming up in this video, why this money for the self-employed has possibly gone to the wrong people and what we can do about that next time round. Hi everyone, I'm Martin Bamford, a chartered financial planner at Informed Choice, and in this video we're talking about a major new report out today which has found that £12.7 billion of government funding for the self-employed, part of the Self-Employed Income Support Scheme, has been terribly targeted. Now this is a major new report out today from the Resolution Foundation. They're a think tank and they've been looking at how this money is part of the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme has been targeted here in the UK from the UK government during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the headline finding from this report is that around 400,000 self-employed people in the UK received grants under the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme, and those 400,000 self-employed people had not actually lost income as a result of the pandemic. However, 500,000 self-employed people who did not receive grants under the scheme did lose income. So clearly something had gone pretty badly wrong for the government to support the self-employed people who had not lost income and to not provide support to those who had lost income. The wrong people got this financial support from the government. So these findings come from an online survey carried out by the Resolution Foundation. They got responses from 6,000 people across the UK aged between 18 and 65, and as well as finding out how this self-employment income support scheme was targeted, terribly targeted in the words of the Resolution Foundation, they also make some suggestions for how to better utilise it and other forms of government support for the self-employed in the future. So the Resolution Foundation in their report note that most of the focus to date since April, when these government support measures came into place, has been on employed people, with a significant number of people furloughed since that scheme was introduced back in April. The focus on the self-employed has been a little bit less, but there's some interesting findings in the report about how that money was allocated and possibly misallocated when it came to who needed it the most. They found that back in April, at the height of the first wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, around 30% of self-employed people had no work at all. Now that has improved since then, but the pace of recovery for the self-employed has been relatively slow. Many self-employed people are now back in work, with around 17% still unable to have work as self-employed people as of September, and the pace of recovery for the self-employed has been most hardly felt for younger self-employed people, around a quarter of them still with no work. So the Foundation notes that to the end of August, the government financial support for the typical self-employed person has been around double that for the typical employed person. The government has spent more than twice as much supporting each self-employed worker at an average of £2,518 compared to the job retention scheme for employed workers at an average of £1,128. But while the self-employed do appear to be getting more than the employed on average, that support has been poorly targeted, according to the Resolution Foundation. They found that 42% of self-employed people who received grants through the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme had actually experienced no loss of income through the COVID-19 pandemic, despite benefiting from those grants. And that means that around £1.3 billion of Self-Employment Income Support Scheme grants was effectively wasted. 78% of self-employed people who received a grant under the Self-Employment Income Support Scheme did experience a drop in income, but in many cases received more in grants than they lost in income. So again, poor targeting of that government financial support. In contrast, 67% of self-employed people who did not claim a Self-Employment Income Support Scheme grant experienced a drop in income due to the pandemic. So those who needed it did not get the financial support from the government. And according to the Foundation, it's a combination of things that have resulted in this situation. Firstly, some very strict eligibility eligibility criteria for the self-employed grants, and secondly, a very weak assessment scheme to work out who actually needed the money and to see if they really did qualify. As a result, the foundation is calling on the government to reform the self-employment income support scheme to make sure it's better targeted at those who truly need this financial support. They would also like to see reform to the system of universal credit, which is effectively the safety net that self-employed people who didn't qualify for self-employment income support scheme grants fall back onto as a state benefit. So for the universal credit system, they would like to see the minimum income floor removed to stop lower earning self-employed people from failing to qualify, and also the removal of the capital requirements, which currently penalise self-employed people who have a significant amount of savings. Now I have a comment here from Hannah Slaughter, who is economist at the Resolution Foundation. Hannah said the UK's 5 million self-employed workers have been at the heart of its jobs crisis. A quarter of young self-employed workers are still without work today. The government has provided unprecedented support in response, but it has been terribly targeted, with around £1.3 billion going to freelancers and businesses unaffected by the crisis, while others suffering catastrophic income losses have missed out on any support at all. And she concludes, this crisis is far from over for the UK's self-employed workers. Future support should avoid excluding so many groups while ensuring payments reflect genuine falls in income, and any immediate priority should be to strengthen universal credit for the many self-employed workers who will really need it in the months ahead. Let me know what you think about this one. If you're self-employed and either of you have qualified for the self-employment income support scheme grants, or if you failed to qualify for any of the reasons we've talked about in this video, what do you make of the Resolution Foundation's findings? Do you think the system should be reformed? And would you like to see changes made to the universal credit system too, to make that more accessible for self-employed people? Please do subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this one. We make videos here about personal finance, investing, the economy, and also happiness, because that's what financial planning is really all about. So do subscribe for more videos like this one. Until next time, I'm Martin Bamford, and when it comes to your money, the more you know, the faster it can grow. Thank you for watching.